career. Never wanted to go home and go to school. It wasn't that bad. Last year I got up at 5 p.m. And I got myself together and I went to school for every day. This year I got up at 5:45. I mean, after and what was it? A quarter till got in the car, drove back. Um, I used to live with her. Everybody said I was. But I don't. I really want. This is my version. You call it different. Other reasons. He was one of the. My son came up with
He's parking. You good?
Yeah.
I call to order the August 25th, 2014 regular meeting of the Cincinnati Board of Education. We welcome everyone and request that everyone, including our own board members and members of the audience, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rhea's off tonight.
Yes, they are.
We can't play ball.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bates.
Present.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman.
Present.
Mr. Coons.
Here.
Mr. Manera.
Here.
Mr. Nelms.
Here.
President Bolton.
Present. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the special public meeting of August 6th, 2014, special meeting August 11th, 2014, and the regular meeting August 11th, 2014.
So moved.
Thank you. Good. Moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Coons, as chair of the Student Achievement Committee, would you please present the August 11th, 2014 committee meeting report?
Yes, I present the minutes as written. You may notice that we missed about half of the agenda because of time constraints. One fun thing at the end was that we're looking into doing op-ed pieces in our local newspaper, having students write those. There's a model in Chicago that we hope to follow, and I think that's something we can all look forward to, giving our students a chance to shine and get into the public light.
Thank you. Mrs. Bates, as chair of the Finance Committee, would you please present the August 13th meeting report?
I present the committee meeting report as printed.
Thank you. And Mrs. Bates, also as the chair of the Finance Committee, you serve as well on the Audit Committee. Would you present those meeting minutes as well?
Well, actually, Ms. Copeland Dansby represented us at that meeting, and I have a question about that. So if you want to present it and...
It's in my mouth. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
The audit committee met on Wednesday, August 13th. Quite a robust agenda. There were several new members or folks who were interested in becoming new members who sat through the meeting that particular day. We also had a audit plan status update from Chandra Brown. I don't know if she's here tonight, our internal auditor. She had some very detailed reports related to audits, some findings, some action plans, and we also heard from our HR department related to their portion of the audit. Further, there were goal discussion for 2015, specifically from Chandra Brown, the internal auditor. And so I present the report as written with those comments.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know that, and I'm in favor of this, that we increase the number of members, but that would have to go to the policy committee and the full board, and I wasn't sure if the audit committee knew that.
Yes, for certain. And I want to say, President Bolton, those are our next steps. It was really a different process for me in that these potential members came and sat through the meeting. Then we learned a lot about them and their roles and why they're interested in supporting and serving through the committee. The next step is, of course, to send it to policy and to the full board.
And we were aware that it would require, as you say, even a review of the charter itself, because the
That's
membership
correct.
piece is part of it.
Yes.
So I think it'll all work out. And I probably need to save that for an assignment when we get to the assignment
I'll make
portion.
sure to mention it.
Thank you.
I'll make a note.
Appreciate it. We need a voice vote to accept the committee reports as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Tonight's first presentation, and we're very excited about both of these. Tonight's first presentation will begin with the opening of the first day of school by Superintendent Ronan. Good
One.
evening.
I am pleased to report that the opening of the 2014-15 school year was successful. It was upbeat, it was positive, and I was joined by several board members. Chris and Erica were out there with me. But you know, with almost 33,000 students and more than 700 bus routes, it's logistically challenging, but it went very smoothly with just a couple of glitches and nothing serious. So first, I'm going to talk about a few highlights, and then we're going to say it in words with a great video. Now, as board members, you know that you approved one of our family-friendly advancements, and that was no fare drop at the high school level. So I think our high school students were very appreciative that they didn't have to have change and $1 to get to and from school today. And that includes all of the youngsters in the city, charter, parochial, in addition to our youngsters. And for our young people who ride the yellow buses, which is our elementary students, First Student has a new call center, staffed with 10 operators, 3 of whom are bilingual. They speak Spanish to address any and all customer complaints and concerns today. So more than 95% of our 18,000 yellow bus riders were all routed today, and about 95% of our 13,000 Metro bus drivers. You know, we are still enrolling youngsters, or if you change schools, or if you move without telling us, you have yet to be routed, but we do that as quickly as possible. Now, at the Ed Center, our leadership team, central office administrators, our teacher coaches, everyone was out in the schools today, just making sure that if they needed an extra set of hands, we would be there. But from the reports, everything went so smoothly, we really weren't needed, but we were there for moral support. Now, I noticed as we toured, there were friendly faces and some really neat welcoming ceremonies. Woodward had rolled out the red carpet for the students, so that was exciting to walk on. And in fact, I want to mention that Shauna Murphy, the principal of Woodward, is in the audience. So Shauna, why don't you stand up? That was great. Hughes High School, they had
Go Bulldogs or something?
Go Bulldogs, and I was in Bulldog Blue, so it all just worked. Indeed. And then Hughes, they had a clap in, all the staff clapped all of the students in, which was wonderful. Now, we do have 2 other principals here with us tonight. We have Paul Daniels from Withrow and Sierra Badgett from Ethel Taylor. So let's give them a round of applause too. Congratulations, gentlemen. And there were lots of our partners out in force. I ran into the Urban League over at Woodward, Beach Acres, Kroger's were there, actually had distributing backpacks and school supplies for the 7th and 8th graders at Woodward. So it was just a wonderful experience, and just great communication today with our partners, the transportation, and we also started the first live stream algebra class between High Park Elementary and Walnut Hills today. So that was exciting. So I wish I could have visited all of the schools, but you cannot visit 55 schools in one day. So that is why we have a video featuring the My Tomorrow High School initiative. And I'm thinking I'll just stop talking right now and show the video of First Day Faces. It's true, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and there were some great pictures.
Any questions or comments from the board to the superintendent?
Yeah. Go ahead, Erica.
Yeah, I did want to say a couple things. So today I had the pleasure of sending my very own student to school first thing this morning, and that's always a joy, and just how confident I feel in his ability to perform and do well in his great environment at Walnut Hills High School. But after that, I had the joy of diving into meeting and greeting parents and teachers, community partners, along with our superintendent, and I just can't tell you enough about how much excitement was in the air. So I want to tell you about a couple of things that I witnessed. I witnessed tremendous cooperation among all involved and took note of even some of the leadership of our students. Community partners, as Superintendent mentioned, the Urban League of Greater Cincinnati, Kroger, Reds Community Fund, Cincinnati Police Department, and others gathered with a spirit of care and concern for each of our students at Douglas and Woodward. They were equipped with back-to-school supplies. Each child received a back-to-school backpack filled with supplies, and the most impressive part, or one of the most impressive parts, at Douglas, there were CPD tattoos in the book bags, which was really fun for the students. I toured the rooftop garden at Rothenberg, and I'm excited about the hands-on learning opportunities and the integration with environmental science for our students at Rothenberg. Additionally, I spoke with parents, though, at Rothenberg who were lined up in the office, and some of them were just showing up for the very first time. Some of them didn't have their paperwork ready. Some of them were sort of out of sorts. And it just reminded me that we still have a tremendous amount of work to do with intervention and outreach for our students and our families. So we as a board, administration, and the community have a lot of work to do, but the outlook is so super bright. I'm looking forward to a stellar school year with lots of good news to share as we prepare our students for life.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say that I had a chance to be on the west side of town, and I was at Roberts. But I just want to thank the teachers. There was so much energy in that building. I mean, the students, we can talk days on how exciting they were, but I just want to really thank the teachers. They were helping each other out. They were collaborating. They knew exactly what to do. You know, over at Roberts, there's a lot of families that don't speak English, and everybody was collaborating. Even some of our central staff came down. We have Ms. Harper down there. I don't know if she's here right now, but I mean, just the interaction for a first day of school was so amazing that I can't wait to hear all the great stories we have for the rest of the year. So thank you, Mary, for your leadership. And thank you, teachers, for their leadership in the local school.
Vice President Nelms.
One of my favorite philosophies is that everything rises and falls on leadership, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And I just want to just congratulate and commend Mary, you and your leadership team for the visibility that you provide for our district. And one thing that's clear, we need to set up a time and a meeting to visit Seller Park. So I just want to just throw that out there, because did anybody go to Seller Park today? Anybody in the audience?
No, Mr. Nelms, because it takes half your day to get there and back.
Just wanted to throw
But
that out.
second to College Hill, it's the center of the universe.
So just keep that in mind for any new endeavor. But good job today.
Yeah, I wanted to just add, so I had my 2 kindergartners start today. I was like going to cry again watching the video. That's been me today. But wanted to thank lots of people. Mr. Miles, who has been hearing me for, I don't know, a month now, talking about how nervous I am for the first day, and he had the great suggestion of taking the kids over last week before there was a couple hundred kids and letting them walk through the building. And so in addition to our teachers, I want to thank them so much. I mean, especially those kindergarten teachers. You had 100 nervous kids, but then 100 sets of nervous parents. And just what a wonderful job they did with all of us. But with Mr. Miles' suggestion, I just wanted to also thank our frontline staff, so the office folks, just how important they are to setting the tone for our schools. And after we did that tour with the kids and with my two little ones, they one of the things they were worried about was they weren't going to know where the bathroom was. And so we were discussing afterwards, and they said, I'm not worried about the bathroom anymore, because if I don't remember where it is, I'll just ask one of those nice ladies in the office. And it was such the really just reinforced every person in our buildings touches each one of our kids and can have such a positive impact on how they feel about the schools that they're going to every day. And so thanking, of course, our teachers and our administrators, but every person. I mean, we know at Kilgore we have Mr. Bell out front. He literally greeted every single student, hundreds of them. He had to have a costume change. He had to change shirts partway through the greeting because he had sweat through it. He was that involved in greeting every person. And, you know, that just speaks volumes to all of the work. None of that just happens. So really wanted to thank every single one of our staff members throughout CPS who worked so hard, not just at that one school, but times 50 schools, to make sure that every kid who came, every family who came had that experience of really kicking off this year on such a positive note. So many thank yous.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you.
And we're going to have
very
a
much.
great year also.
There you go. It's a great,
Thank you.
great kickoff for a great year. So I appreciate it. And all the summer work and all the work that went before the summer to get ready for this is wonderful. Our next presenter, and our next guest, if you will, is none other than, I guess, one of the great greeters at the schools today, Chief Jeffrey Blackwell. Chief, I know Vice President Nelms wants to say a few words, and I appreciate Mr. Nelms getting our great chief here for this evening. But I think we need to say a couple of things for sure, and that is that we all know that almost 30 years of policing, much of which in Columbus. The chief has been known for his community involvement and community engagement. We know that he was also our first guest, if you will, for the Alliance for Community and Education Success, when we talked about how the city and the district can cooperate even more. And more particularly than all the community policing and this incredible visibility, and thank you for getting the lights on top of the cars as a rise of visibility. The thing I would like to say is how proud I was on a couple of occasions during these very difficult 2 weeks in Ferguson to have Cincinnati shine so well by your professionalism and sensitivity when you were on network TV and also here locally talking to us and helping us figure out what was going on. You were really a shining beacon with your comments of professionalism and sensitivity. So as a Cincinnatian, I'm always happy when Cincinnati shines bright, and you really made that possible in very difficult times in the last couple of weeks. Mr. Nelms?
Well, Chief, first of all, thanks for coming. I do believe in divine intervention. We bumped into each other so many times since you've been here. One of the things I want to say on behalf of the board, thank you for trusting the district by allowing us to educate your son who attends Walnut Hills, and that's a trivia question for those that don't know. And I study people, and I study people quite well, and I'm always looking for character and consistency in people. And some of the attributes I've seen in you since you've been here is you're not only visible, you're very consistent, very active, very engaged, very proactive, very invested, and you're adaptable. But probably the most important trait is that you listen, and you have a heart for the people. You're a servant leader. Not only are you the police chief, but you're always willing, wherever I see you, you're willing to serve. Not just lead, but you're willing to serve. You're willing to take time out to meet, greet, talk to people, and that's rare in people in your position. So again, thank you for being open. Thank you for allowing me to sit on your external advisory committee. It's an honor. And when you presented this to the advisory committee about the level of engagement with CPD and CPS, I thought it would be very apropos for you to come and talk about the partnership we have with you. So thank you, and it's yours.
Thank you. Seeing as how I didn't get permission to do all of this with these young people in Cincinnati, I need to apologize to the superintendent, to the entire board, president, vice president. Thank you for lending me and allowing CPD to be involved with all of the great young people in Cincinnati. We don't take that responsibility lightly, but I do have a bit of a complaint before we start.
Uh-oh.
You know, my day started really early, like the superintendent, at Frederick Douglass this morning. I haven't been home yet, but I called my son in between meetings. I just left Roger Bacon, and I came here, and I said, "You need to tell me about your day." He said, "I can't. I got too much homework already."
That's true at Walnut Hills. That is true.
You know about that, right? I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, Dad, I need to get off. I've got tons of homework after football practice." So it's going to be one of those years for him. But thank you all for allowing me to share a few minutes of what my passion is, and that is connecting with community. And in my heart, it starts with young people. They're the future. They're the diamonds in the rough. So many kids in Cincinnati are just diamonds. They have tough circumstances. They have to navigate tough neighborhoods. And they're worth the effort. And one of the things that my staff is trying to get across to young people is that they matter to us, because they do. They really matter. So when Mr. Nelms asked me to come, I thought it would be very appropriate because, as I said when I opened, I haven't really asked for permission for all of the things that I'm doing in the schools with young people. You know, I just kind of show up and start things. And so if I've violated some rule or some ordinance, you know, I'm asking for forgiveness. But as you can see here, this was a presentation I gave and will give to council in the coming weeks. It talks a little bit about what the platform consists of, and some of this doesn't apply for all of you here, but a lot of it does. If you look at the second item, the Chief's Chill Crew. Chill, I'm big on acronyms, so get ready. Chill stands for character, humility, integrity, leadership, and love. And it's a high school leadership program that we've started. We've stood up. Officer Donald Jordan is my person that's in charge of the program. And when we talked about it at the conclusion of the last school year, he fell in love with the idea, and he's already stood the program up. And we have about 30 young people, not just from Cincinnati Public Schools, but from a lot of different schools in the Cincinnati region. And the reason, one of the main reasons the program was given life was all of us in the room are aware of the heroin epidemic that is plaguing our community in the tri-state region. And heroin, unfortunately, is a serious problem, and it plagues a lot of our suburban communities. So what I did not want was to have just a total Cincinnati public school program and eliminate the other children in some of the schools, because we want to eradicate the no snitch mentality as we talk about what real leadership looks like. So we want to help eradicate that so we can help impact that heroin problem that is plaguing a lot of our young people in schools right now. And a lot of people, I don't think, realize the magnitude of that problem. We lose 3 to 5 people in this area per week due to overdose on heroin. And a lot of those are young people. And so we want to help impact that situation. So that's one of the reasons we started the Chill Crew, but there's more to it than that. And we want to develop that leadership program in the school. So that consists of juniors and seniors. And then we have the city camp. That's for children in trauma. It's a boot camp learning environment. Most of those young people are Cincinnati public school kids or former kids that have been removed due to behavioral issues. And we're trying to help with those young people and get them back into the classroom. We have an adopt-a-class involvement with St. Joseph and Frederick Douglass, which I was pleased to be at today. That school is wonderful and a bunch of great kids, and it was just neat to see all the new shoes on those kids. They were so, you know, when the first day, a new pair of shoes does wonders for young people. So they were proud, and I was proud to be there. We also have the third grade mentoring and tutoring initiative. We are very connected to what crime and community mean and how young people get pulled into that at a very young age. So we're connected to education because intellectually we all know that the lack of education leads to a life of poverty and oftentimes a life of criminal involvement. And the third grade reading guarantee is going to impact that. And some of you may wonder what the heck is the police department doing with tutoring and mentoring third graders? Well, it's the right thing to do. And we have so many officers that want to do it. We've just allowed them to do it. So we've blessed the program. And so what we're going to see is officers coming by the elementary schools and engaging young people in that third grade year, helping them with their reading, building relationships, and hopefully increasing those numbers so that these young people pass that test and move on to bigger and better things. We don't want that hitch in their giddy up to be significant. So we're going to help, if allowed, to help tutoring there. And then the GREAT program is going to be taught. We spent all summer getting our officers certified for this national curriculum, gang resistance education and training. We want to teach it in the 7th grade classrooms. I've had a lot of discussion with my team, and some of them are pushing for 5th and 6th graders as well. I think that is the real age where we need to reach young people before there's that tendency, if you will, for them to go right when they should go left. And so The only reason we're not is we have significant staffing issues as well, like all of you. And we just don't have enough officers to be in those elementary schools. So because Cincinnati is fortunate and the high schools are 7 through 12, we can accommodate the 7th grade classrooms with our SROs in those programs. And so we're willing to do that, to teach that great program. Everywhere I've been this summer, I've been asked about the reemergence of DARE and DARE-like programs, and GREAT is that program. GREAT is a national curriculum, and we're excited to be involved with it. And the last thing I'll talk about is the YPOPs, or the Young People of Principles and Standards. It doesn't say it here, but it's been focused on young ladies by some of the female officers that teach it in our youth services unit, and they felt the need to focus this program on some of the young ladies, 15, 16, 17-year-olds that we've seen. We saw the fight in Winton Woods, and we've seen some other examples of some behavior that is unacceptable from some of our young women in Cincinnati. So we want to stay engaged with that group as well, because we're seeing some emerging violence out of that group and a disconnect that's starting. So we want to stay connected as best we can. So, you know, I'll close by saying law enforcement, in my mind, starts with community engagement. It really does. I very rarely talk about the nuts and bolts of law enforcement, because I think all of you expect us to do police work. What I want to talk about is how we do it. And I believe you do it by healthy relationship building, and it starts with young people. I think we've seen an example of a community that is disconnected from their police agency. Cincinnati, under my watch, will never fall into that category. So I'll take any questions that anyone has, but I am honored to be here, and hopefully, Superintendent, you will allow us as an agency to continue working with the great young people in Cincinnati Public Schools.
Oh, I learned a long time ago not to argue with the police chief or a policeman. So you're welcome at any school at any time. And thank you for starting off at 7:30 this morning at Frederick Douglass.
Thank you. It was my honor.
Member Coons.
Thank you so much for coming, Chief Blackwell. I just want to say that I'm very impressed by your vision and your leadership. Police officers, police departments have a reputation for being the folks that go after the bad guys. It's all about stats and getting crime numbers down. Oh, is the homicide rate dropped? Great. Clearly, you see that you have to build a foundation so that the house doesn't crumble.
Right.
And like you said, why are police officers teaching kids how to read? Because that's what protects them from getting involved with things like gangs or being, jobless someday and forced to go on the street, and who knows, that maybe that's what's going to prevent them from using heroin someday. And so seeing the lines there and understanding that, again, I just want to say I really respect your outlook and appreciate what you're doing. It's very impressive, and kudos.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Manera.
Chief, thank you so much for being out here. I remember the very first time I met you talk about serving leadership. You were out shopping with the kids at a Kroger. And I was just so impressed that you weren't just doing PR work, you were literally shopping with the kids. And I completely see that reflection of Mr. Nelms. I do love what you're doing. A lot of the kids that I work with in the community are involved in that, especially in the Price Hill area. But I do want to encourage us to work together as a district and with you, with our Hispanic population.
Absolutely.
But let me broaden that up a little bit more to our non-English speaking population. We got Principal Badgett here, and he's got a population of Africans from Africa in his community, and a lot of those families just have a different take on authority, and I don't know what that would look like, but I would love for us to try to figure out how we can go into the schools and maybe just raise some awareness of what you're talking about, what police work really is, not in the maybe nuts and bolts, more of the relationship and more of the component of working as a community and following the rules rather than just good guy, bad guy type of deal.
Right.
I would encourage our relationship to grow together looking at that component.
Absolutely.
And thank you again for everything you're doing.
Absolutely. And just to speak on that real quick, if you see the ABCs of CPD, we're going to do that. And it was developed by me in Columbus to deal with the Somali and the other newcomer populations, Hispanic, Latino, Somali, the other East African nations. And we have a great program that we're going to unveil soon here, and it involves young people as well in another attempt or another platform to help build those relationships. And one thing I want to say to Alex over here is that crime is down too. I didn't speak about crime, but I wouldn't still be here, I don't think, if crime were up. Violent crime is down 15%, shootings are down 21%, homicides down 10%, property crime is down 8%. I'm proud of that because, you know, that's what everyone here pays me to do on a higher level, to control crime and the fear of crime and disorder and all of that. But I think there's a way that you do that doesn't look overbearing or enforcement heavy. Absolutely. And so I'm proud to announce that crime is down, and hopefully it stays down, Lord willing, and we're working towards that with a different approach.
Other comments? Mrs. Hoffman?
Yeah, I also wanted to echo the thanks here. I mean, I think just to ground maybe some folks in the audience who weren't aware, our first strategic goal of the board reads to cultivate a robust and inclusive network of engaged parents, community, and other stakeholders that work together to build safe, vibrant schools at the center of safe, vibrant communities. And so that might clear it up for lots of folks in the audience about why we asked you here today, because neither of us can do that in a silo. And so really excited to see all of the work that you're doing in our schools. We had a presentation at our last COW meeting on Wednesday, and we heard that the number of SROs are going to go up in our buildings, which is exciting to have, you know, in the idea of how we're going to have safer environments. But I'd be curious to hear your definition of what safe means, and even some of the goals that you all have set for those officers, because I think our concerns were more around we don't want safer schools by having more suspensions, right?
Oh, no,
like that
no.
So just wanting to hear from you what your vision is for what those officers are doing, what your goals are.
Thank you. And that was one of the one of the first conversations I had when I came was with our SROs, so that they understood that we were not going to criminalize in-school misbehavior. And the U.S. Attorney Carter Stewart and I do a lot of speaking on what SROs are supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. So while we did make the program more robust because it needed it, one of the things that came out of that discussion in my meetings all summer long was how do we build those relationships in the school building. So the only thing that's really changed with the SRO program is that they're spending more time on their campus. Before coming here, when I read the statistics, they were spending just a real small fraction of their day in their high school building and then traveling around to a host and myriad of schools with the younger kids, the elementary schools and the charter schools, even in some of the parochial schools. Well, first of all, they have a different budget than Cincinnati does, and so hopefully they can afford to pay for that, and they need to. We need to focus as Cincinnati police officers on Cincinnati public schools, and so we did that, and we brought our officers back to those buildings, and we're requiring them to build those relationships in that building and to decriminalize and not even be thinking about criminal charges, short of the most serious of circumstances that all of you would approve of, like potentially bringing a gun into the building or something like that. Short of that, we're going to let those administrators and those principals work those situations out, and we're not going to file charges and introduce our young people unnecessarily to the criminal justice system, because the statistics are clear that when you introduce them to the criminal justice system, they have an 80% chance of staying in that criminal justice system as adults. And we do not, as an agency, want to contribute to that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nelms, did you?
Yeah, I wanted to say, first of all, again, thanks for coming, Chief. You know, at one time, Cincinnati was pre-Ferguson, Missouri, before you got here. We have a MORE program that focuses on boys of color. Have you ever considered, in all that you currently do, have you ever considered maybe doing a town hall piece with this special population that we have on how to interact with the police when they're stopped? I think it's critical that if not that piece, that you consider doing that piece so that our boys, again, will not have a unpleasant first encounter with the police when they
Absolutely. Do. That's a wonderful idea, and I am all for it. I think it's a great idea.
We have, can you stand up, Doc? He oversees our MORE program, and I don't know if you've met some of Mary's lieutenants, like you have lieutenants, but they do the work day to day. And so before you leave, can you introduce yourself to them personally so you can attach a face with a name? Thank you.
Or we can just talk tomorrow and you can give me all their information.
That's
There
fine.
you go.
That's fine.
We do want to announce as well that please join everyone at Robert A. Taft High School, located at 420 Ezra Charles, as the great program gets kicked off, and celebrate the school year and introduce our great, which is gang resistance education and training program. The guest speaker is none other than offensive lineman, a Hall of Famer, Anthony Munoz.
Hey.
So again, one personal note, I have a dear friend whose granddaughter participated in one of your summer programs and found it very difficult and challenging and benefited greatly and was thrilled with people caring about what she was caring about, most particularly caring about her. So
Right.
thank you. Yes.
My pleasure.
Good. Thank you, Chief, for being here, and thank you for meeting us this morning at 7:30.
Absolutely.
And thank you for choosing the Walnut Hills High School for your very own student.
Thank you.
And that awesome football team.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that.
They've already hired me to work the grill Friday night.
Right. Okay, good. You'll love it. It'll be fun, and I'll be happy to see you there.
Okay,
It's
I'll
fantastic.
be there.
Yeah, I wanted to point out a couple of things to you. So I've worked in our community for decades, and I've worked with our same students and our same families, and I understand the issues that our families are dealing with. But this past weekend, or last Friday, the board held a retreat, and we were given some statistics related to suspensions, expulsions, disruptive behavior, and they were overwhelming for me to really understand the impact. In the report that we were given, there were more than 4,500 instances of just different offenses where students were involved with having to go to our A to E, A to S program. More than 1,000 of those instances were for violent behavior. So for me, I want to make sure that you understand the stats that, literally what we're dealing with. And if possible, if you could leave your business card with Ms. Davis. And I won't belabor the issue here today, but I'd love to spend more time, and I welcome any other board members to sit and participate. But I want to make sure that you understand what we're really dealing with
I do.
In our schools at a deeper level. And then I think at the end of the meeting, I'll love to make an assignment where we can get that information to you
Absolutely.
in your hands. I wanted to ask you, too, great programs. They're all awesome. And Officer Donald Jordan and I have worked together in the community for many years. We go way back. I met some of your awesome SROs today. But what do you think some of our threats are, to programs that we're implementing? Some of our threats and some of our opportunities that maybe we haven't discovered quite yet.
Wow. I think one of the biggest threats clearly is that violent behavior that sometimes finds its way into the school buildings. And I'm really aware of what that looks like, but I'm also aware of what it doesn't look like. Right. And I think a lot of things get mislabeled as being violent acts of aggression and things like that. And then you all are forced to take aggressive action that really kind of determines the flight of that young person. So I share with you that concern that we look at those situations very clearly. And my only involvement is through the SRO program, and then as a parent of a young man that's at Walnut Hills. And I will deal with him appropriately if that comes out, and he knows that. But in the schools, I definitely want to be that voice that gives some moral clarity, if you will, to what our involvement is in CPS and how we interact with those principals and those teachers, and identify those alpha males and females in some of the buildings that want to be disruptive and want to cause disruption in the day so that kids can't learn. And then also create environments where kids are fearful, because that peer pressure is a very dynamic thing in our schools today, as all of you are aware, because you deal with young people daily. So I really am up to speed with those statistics. Right. I know what they mean, and I know how important they are that we address those statistics holistically. There are a whole lot of socioeconomic and ethnogenic issues that impact our young people. A lot of them are hungry. A lot of them don't have parental supervision. They're coming to school. They're navigating tough terrains just to get to your buildings.
Yeah.
And when they get there, that's a whole nother thing there.
Yeah.
So,
and that is a whole nother thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, our Safe Routes to School program. And just if you have any particular ideas, and we could talk about this, of course, again offline, and I invite everyone to hopefully sit down with us. But, some of your thoughts related to strengthening that program. We have real issues with our kids just getting to the school building.
Absolutely.
And that we spend a lot of money on, supporting those types of programs. But I'm interested in making sure that we're not missing anything and that we're filling all the gaps. We're learning from each other and really, really building a cohesive collaboration.
Right, and we're going to have our motorcycles out. They were out today, and they're going to be out tomorrow, not only for traffic issues on those main routes that the young people have to navigate, but also just to be in the community so that young people don't feel intimidated to walk from home to their building.
Yeah.
If that happens, I failed, and I don't want that to happen.
Very well. I look forward to our continued conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
all that you do and all that you're about to do.
Thank you
for our
all
kids.
for your time. I'm
Thank
sorry if
you.
I got a little long-winded.
No.
No, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Nels, would you please present some of your kudos? And I know a number of board members have some as well.
Yeah, I have about, I think, 3 or 4. Kudos to all our students on their first day of school and administration, the teachers, the parents, and the community. Also, kudos to Hayes Porter student Jonathan Brooks for being selected as one of the 59 students to serve as a state ambassador for Fuel Up to Play 60, the premier in-school nutrition and physical activity program. Inspired and led by youth, Fuel Up to Play 60 empowers students to eat healthy, be active, and make positive changes in their schools and their communities. Also, my third kudos would be to the Reds for the unveiling of the Urban Youth Baseball Academy. For most of you that don't know, it's the 4th in the country. Buzz Selig, the commissioner of baseball, noted that Cincinnati was light years ahead of all the previous academies in the country, and there's about 3 or 4 that's in construction now. And I think this is a good segue because it kind of coincides with the reason for the Urban Youth Academy. And one is to attract more urban youth or inner city youth or African-American players to embracing and playing the game of baseball. And it also coincides with the Little League World Series with the Chicago Jackie Robinson team that got to the finals after 30 years, an all-black Little League team representing the country in the Little League World Series, and Miss Monet Davis, the female phenom who pitched her way to the national stage. And then lastly, kudos to Lannis Timmons and also the Woodward principal, you, ma'am, for allowing the hosting of the 3rd annual PHSL basketball preview. And it's a collection of alumnus from this very district that converged in one place. Ms. Murphy, thank you for hosting. And they played basketball in 2 age groups, and it was really quite a gathering. So thank you for hosting. And kudos to everybody that continues to make Cincinnati the city that it is.
Well, the kudos.
I do have a kudos. I want to give kudos to Withrow High School for being welcomed into the ECC this past week. Administrators from Anderson, Glen Estee, Kings, Loveland, Milford, Turpin, and Walnut Hills High School welcomed Withrow School to the Eastern Cincinnati Conference. And so that means a great competition. But here's a quote from our very own Withrow principal, Paul Daniels, on that day of that ceremony as he smiles out there. The students that will compete with and on the field are the same students that our students will compete against for college scholarships, college entrance, jobs, and workforce. So it's more than athletics. It's all those things combined, and I'm really excited to have 2 of our public schools back into the same district or league conference. I'm learning the jargon for
There you go.
Thank you.
Any other kudos? I have a couple or several. First, for our mayor's and president, Jillian Darwish, who was selected as one of the women of influence in Cincinnati just last week. We also, I want to emphasize to the world, too, that that wonderful baseball complex that is now built and ready to be used in Bondale Roselawn area. Very frankly, one of the folks that had a lot to do with that and continues to have a lot to do with making sure that our children, our young men and women have baseball diamonds on which to play is our own former Red, Vice President Nelms. Nowhere that I go do I not hear about your work, silent, quiet, unassuming, no self-aggrandizement regarding recreation, safety for our young kids. And I just, I was moved to see you work that crowd, or actually the crowd work him at that dedication, because they made it a point to come up to Vice President Nelms and say thank you for making this possible, and appreciate it. And we have first dibs, as I understand it, you're holding Charlie Franks accountable for first dibs for our young men and women to have access to that facility.
Yeah, what Walnut Hills currently uses.
Always as a home field.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that that's been a promise for the facilities and equipment.
Not to mention that there is a hosting the 2015 All-Star Game here next year. So it's a lot going on, but you got to like baseball to really, really understand the brevity of what is being said. So thank you, Eve.
Well, thank you for your leadership, and I know the board appreciates it, as does everyone else. I also have another kudo to congratulate the folks at Hughes Big Red from July 26th to August 2nd, a group of Hughes student athletes and teachers, led by Athletic Director Jolinda Miller, went to Naplai, Haiti, to run a basketball camp for 100 child slaves, village kids and orphans. Sophomore Corey Long, freshman Ariane Howard, and junior Leah Coulter each coached a team and ran a teaching station at the camp. The Hughes student athletes were also responsible for stretching and ball handling each day of the camp. Corey, Ariane, and Leah also went through leadership training sessions throughout the week. STEM principal Kathy Wright worked with the My Life Speaks organization to help develop a curriculum and plans for a new STEM school for that village in Haiti. A partnership was also formed between the Hughes STEM school and the Haitian Astronomy Society. Also attending from Hughes were phys ed instructor and Hall of Fame girls basketball coach Anita Burke, MD teacher and head track coach Maurice Henderson, junior high teacher and basketball and softball assistant coach Laura Wilder. There is already another trip scheduled for next July if enough funds can be raised. And we do have some pictures that Ms. Davis has printed for us as well. And another kudo that I have, very frankly, is to thank all of those folks in My Tomorrow. The work that has been accomplished is miraculous and monumental. And it really kind of paves the way for, as we talked about briefly in our retreat, another way of kind of organizing how we do our work. And it was just phenomenal, the amount of work, and that goes for everybody involved. So those are my kudos.
Yeah, I would like to comment on the Hughes Haitian trip. It's a prime example that social and emotional learning still connects with extracurricular activity. And I think I'm traumatized, and that's why I'm responding, because when I took on the modeling the student activity role for the district for the first time, and being in that position and trying to do things that will really promote the development of our kids, I was told that I was acting as a social worker. But 10 years, 13 years later, we can see the kind of the results of the vision that I had, and that is exposing our kids to multiple experiences so that they can become well-rounded in whatever they do. So kudos again to Joe Littner Miller for the work that she continues to do. And I told her the next year I'll try to go. Been a lot of places, but Haiti is not one.
Good. Mrs. Bates, you have retirements to announce?
I do have some retirements. We have staff members who have applied for retirement. And from our certificated personnel, Andrea L. Baker, Mary C. Morley, Deborah Ann Peter, Gwendolyn C. Smith, all teachers. And from our civil service personnel, we have Margaret Karcher, Dennis McManus, and Kamachita Martin, and we wish them well in their retirement and thank them for their service.
Thank you very much. We are now at the point of our agenda for hearing the public. We have at least one speaker to speak, and that person will, like others, will speak for 3 minutes. And Mrs. Witt will be our timekeeper. She's usually fairly generous though, but when the buzzer goes off, you have 3 minutes or up. Please refrain from personnel discussions. But our first and only member of the public to speak this evening is Chenoa Monroe Williams, who is here to talk about a book about the business of our kids. All right, she has a fan club here. I hear that. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, that way we can, I don't know if we can see it better, but crappy theater notes. Isn't that something?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me here. Again, my name is Shonda Monroe Williams. I am the president and CEO of CMW Consulting, which is a strategic positioning firm here in Cincinnati. I'm a tier 2 supplier for a lot of our larger companies. But let me update you on a few of my more recent roles. I am also a parent and board member, as well as advocate for the American Diabetes Association. So we recently passed a bill with our elected officials, House Bill 264, which basically increased our ability to enhance the safety of our diabetic children. So I'm looking forward to Cincinnati Public Schools becoming compliant with that bill as of September 10th of this year. I am also a graduate of the Wani Hills High School. I'm a member of the Black Alumni Association, so I stay engaged with a lot of activities that are facing our children as far as tutoring programs, et cetera. And most recently, I am a founding member of the About the Business of Our Children, which is an organization founded by a lot of the parents who are concerned about the plague of issues that are basically claiming our children at this point. So that was founded last year. So I've worked for the last 8 years to transition my children from private school to public school, because I feel that I'm a product of public school and my children should also get that pleasure of being the same, doing the same. I finished that transition last year with my daughter Naya moving to North Avondale Montessori, which I'm very pleased with, and she has flourished at that school. I am very happy to say that my son Xavier has transitioned to Withrow High School. He is now a 10th grader. He is playing football. He is diabetic. And I would like to say that he will tell you that he chose Withrow. I will tell you that Withrow chose him. And I will tell you that it chose him because I spent the last year every day dropping my children off, picking my children up, asking them how their days have gone. I've talked to the children, I've talked to the teachers, I've partnered with the administration, I've observed how we do business. And we have a lot of strengths and we have a lot of opportunities. But I would say that I am very happy with the leadership that Erica Copeland, Dansby has provided, and assistance that she is, and guidance that she's provided to me in kind of maneuvering this system. I'm very happy with the level of commitment that I've seen with the new head principal, Mr. Daniels. He is a parent of a diabetic child as well, so he has been very open and friendly and very instructive and deliberate in his actions as far as addressing my concerns. And I'm very happy with Mr. Miles, who is someone who has basically shown a level of accountability in making sure that he addresses some of the things that I'm seeing and some of the opportunities where we can improve. So I only say this, and I only wanted to speak here to say that my job at this point is to find a better way as a parent to collaborate with this board and with the school system. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to a great 2014-2015 school year.
Great, thank you very much for your comments and choosing CPS. We're fortunate to have your students. Superintendent Ronan, do you have a report?
Actually, yes, I have two reports. The first one is, with sadness, I do want to offer sympathy to the family of Judy Mayfield. She had been the principal of Mount Airy School for many years, retired in 2004, and she did pass away. And I know there's thousands of, well, they were children back then, but now adults who are out there who remember Mrs. Mayfield. So condolences to her family. Now, the second report is more positive because in addition to our great opening, other things have happened in the past week, so I wanted to go through them. So, Mount Airy, where Mrs. Mayfield had been principal, that is our 21st school-based health center that we are cutting the ribbon for. It was part of Mount Airy's Back to School Bash. President Bolton was there, lots of children, lots of parents, and a big thanks to the health department, Interact for Health, Jim Schwab was there, and Francie Walgren, who wrote the grants, and the principal actually gave up her office to extend the health center so that the door is right there opening to the outside, and she has moved into some small other little cubby hole, but she knew that she wanted to do that for the youngsters. So there's a fabulous new health center at Mount Airy. So thank you, Mrs. Roddy. Rothenberg also on Saturday celebrated the opening of their health center. Vice President Nelms was there representing the district. Thank you so much. This is also part of our partnership with the Cincinnati Health Department and Interact for Health. So another great health center. Then, as Board Member Copeland Dansby mentioned, on August 18th, this is the picture of Withrow High School when they're being welcomed into the Eastern Cincinnati Conference. And it brings Withrow's 95-year sports tradition into this conference. So that was just a very exciting day. So right now we have Walnut and Withrow in the Eastern Conference. Then on August 19th, during a ceremony of early literacy that featured award-winning author and former Walnut Hills High School teacher Sharon Draper, this first superstar of literacy was presented. And Cheryl Broadnax gave the award to Richard Rosenthal, which is very touching because, you know, in the past month, Dick has lost his wife, Lois. And actually, I can tell you for probably a quarter of a century, Mr. and Mrs. Rosenthal had funded Rosie Reader in our schools. So before early literacy became the buzzword that it is now, he was out there buying books and buying little blue bags with Rosie Reader that I know my daughter, when she was in kindergarten and first grade, took home from school with her every day. So it was wonderful that we were able to honor Mr. Rosenthal and his late wife, Lois. And, and this is an extra little tidbit I have to share in the next slide about Mrs. Broadnax. And apparently, she was the warm-up act with a group of PNC partners in the Growing Up Great program, and they got to throw out the ceremonial pitch. And you must have brought Simon and the Reds good luck because they won that game. So thank you for being down there with some of our PNC partners. And that concludes my report. So see, there's just lots of exciting things going on in addition to the first day of school.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And just news. I think with the next one or so, the school-based health center, we'll have more in this district than the rest of the state has in total.
That I do believe with 21.
That's good priorities. Do I have a motion to approve the revised recommendations of the superintendent?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or issues to be addressed by board members to the superintendent? Seeing none, roll call.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby?
Aye.
Mrs. Hoffman?
Aye.
Mr. Coons?
Aye.
Mr. Manera?
Aye.
Mr. Nelms?
Aye.
President Bolton?
Aye. Do I have a motion to approve the report of the treasurer?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Bates, and a second for Mr. Coons. Any question or discussion that needs to be had, and any further explanation? I think the treasurer wants to make a statement or a correction.
Yes, just one correction for the board, please. On page 2 of the treasurer's report, item number 9, for the approval to make the annual lease payment of Cincinnati Bell Technology Solutions, the amount says $194,460.51. It should read $196,460.51. 196,460.51.
Thank you for that correction. So noted in the revision. Any questions for the treasurer? Seeing none, roll call.
Mrs. Bates.
Aye.
Mrs. Copeland Dansby.
Aye.
Mrs. Hoffman.
Aye.
Mr. Coons.
Aye.
Mr. Manera.
Aye.
Mr. Nelms.
Aye.
President Bolton.
Aye. We have inquiries and updates, and on that inquiries and updates, I think you all received a copy of the letter and the due date for the Ohio Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission Awards, and wanted to know if anybody had any particular nominations. They can go through Mrs. Davis, and we'd really like to have some CPS representation for those awards if we can put forward some nominations. Any other inquiries or updates?
Well, I do have I want to mention that, Laura, I want to thank you for your appearance on 1230 The Buzz this past Saturday, representing the district and talking about, I forgot what the theme was, but you represented yourself so well. And if the board members, if you don't know that there's a education forum on The Buzz every Saturday at 3 o'clock. So it would behoove you to listen in, maybe call in, and kind of help bring some clarity to some of the discussion. And it's moderated by Greg Lansman and Nancy. I think I know Nancy, but I don't recall her last name. And you were so eloquent, and thank you. Everything you said, you deferred back to the board says, or the board.
Oh, we love her.
And I want to say I really appreciate protocol and then your political correctness and your professionalism.
Well, all right. That's great. I have an announcement regarding the ACES meeting will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. And we do have anywhere from about 5 to 12 elected officials that and other folks from other jurisdictions that have said that they would be able to attend. There also is the announcement reminding of everyone the retreat for September 15th. And then also as an update from the legislative platform group, this is a kudo for the whole board, as well as a little bit of a kind of a giggle about the whole thing too. I had to go to Columbus for that legislative platform, and you all recall that through all of our committees, we circulate the OSBA legislative platform, and each committee breaks down the platform and reacts and makes corrections and additions and suggestions. Well, you'll be glad to know that out of 620 some school districts, over the last several years, the only district in the state of Ohio that actually submits suggestions, corrections, and additions is Cincinnati Public. There were 19 of those suggested, and 10 of them were ours. We had a batting average of 5 passes and 5 failures. The staff up there had all their 9 passed, but that's sort of the way it works. But they were so stunned that we actually take the time and do this. Interestingly enough, all of the ones that we all proposed regarding kindergarten passed. The ones that were rejected were the ones that dealt with discipline, and not because they thought we were totally out of step, but in reality was they wanted it more left to the local board to decide how and in what way to deal with it. But they were very, very pleased with the fact that we do this. We are not a member of the legislative platform, committee, and it is decidedly career schools, career tech schools, some suburban, and I think the only other urban that's on it is Akron. And so they were thrilled to see Cincinnati at least standing against the wall. But kudos to the board for taking its work so seriously, and several board members from different entities actually said, you know, we should do that too, and we'll see if they do. But we had a 500 batting average. Is not bad, is it?
Not at all.
That's Hall of Fame. Okay, so
President
thank you
Bolton,
for
I
your
have a
work.
question. I want to go back to the ACES meeting that's scheduled for tomorrow at 6 p.m. Is there a topic or an agenda?
Yes, the agenda should be with us now. It's the same thing as we mentioned, I think, before, which is going out into the other jurisdictions. So it's going to be the people that have been invited, or maybe from Amberley, from Cheviot, or whatever. And it's I had mentioned to the superintendent that tomorrow, she's also very busy with everything else, does not need to attend, because it's really a discussion as to how we've done the city and the district piece, and talk about that. I think there was a suggestion, too, as a follow-up at our retreat about maybe if there was to bring any administration, it would still be about some zoning questions. But I don't think that the city is bringing any administrators tomorrow. So it's really a little bit more social than some of our other meetings.
Oh, we're having a social. Okay.
Sort of, kind of.
I'm just going to.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions or comments? And we move to assignments. And I think we have some assignments on the table.
Yeah, I have a few. Our finance chair, Member Bates, would like for us to review the audit committee charter, and also send the recommendations related to new members to policy and to the full board. So I don't know who will do that, but okay. Also, and I'll work with Phyllis Davis to do this, I want to get the A to E, A to S information to the chief that we discussed related to suspensions and expulsions. And then I have a request. We've talked about topics for CAL meetings, and I see in the treasurer's report today, Grad Cincinnati's doing a lot of different things with our kids related to reading, college and career readiness, and so I would like to see, and you all, you know, this is just my idea, but to hear from Grad Cincinnati, because I don't know that we're all familiar with what they're doing, and also to couple their college readiness preparedness, you know, couple that with whomever else is doing that in the district. Because I know that there are a couple.
CYC and others, yes.
Correct. So we need to, yeah, and gear up. So we're pretty early in the school year, I would say. So I think it's good to begin those conversations now. You know, let's hear what folks are doing to get our kids college ready, especially with an ACT having to be taken in the month of October, and how we're getting our kids ready for that. That ACT in October is critical for scholarships, for funding, and for merit awards for all of our high school 11th grade students.
Great topic suggestion and assignment. So we'll put that on the kind of the yellow sheet and see where that fits in. Great idea, Mrs. Hoffman.
Just one more assignment. I think to get it out of email and into official assignment would be going back to the ACES meeting. I know, like, unfortunately, I haven't been able to attend any of them because they seem to be assigned somewhat randomly, the dates to us. So if we could have an assignment to planning the next however many months worth of them, maybe getting a doodle out there to the board so we can get suggestions for the best dates, because I think a lot of us would really like to participate in those but haven't had input into the selection of dates. So if we could get that out there as
I
an
think given the
assignment.
fact that we're going into the final quarter of the year, if we could plan just meetings for the remainder of the year, that might be great.
I think that will work. I think particularly as we've mentioned, I believe in the emails that you're talking about September, October, November, probably no meeting in December, just
I
like
won't be
we
there.
held one off, I think, in July
I'll be on
as well.
holiday.
But at least those three would be great. And if Ms. Davis will do that, and then also submit that to the council committee as well, because that's their piece of it. The other piece is making sure, sometimes kind of mixing it up, evening as well as the lunchtime.
That's fine.
Period. I think that helps them as well as I think some of our
Yeah,
members.
that's fine. And I think, too, we need an opportunity as a board to put our agenda items on paper, because we have some business that we've been dealing with from the last ACES meeting that we still haven't wrapped up related to our school definition. So if we're able to plan for the rest of the year, with the exception of December, but also somewhere, I don't know how we find the time, maybe via email, but let's talk about some of the issues that we need to bring to City Council.
Yeah, and I think that time frame is very important regarding the zoning and the definition piece.
Yeah, we need to get off of allowing, I don't know who sets the agenda, but it doesn't feel like we collectively are adding anything to the agenda.
I think we're still working from the original long list and what have you, so we'll double check that.
All right.
But if others have, I think Mrs. Hoffman submitted a number of topics, and I think some of them we've dealt with, some of them we haven't, so I think that'll work. Any other assignments? All right, having no other business to come before the board, I declare the meeting adjourned.